Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum, and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of Purpose. Now, in our last episode, which was the first episode, we said, okay, we're going to start by discussing the topic of happiness, because that is central and that is integral to pursuing happiness. We started off by mentioning that happiness is the most elusive thing in the world. Everyone is seeking it, but very few people find it. And why is that? So we tried to understand that by answering four questions. The first is, why is happiness so elusive? Well, because we're chasing the next. We think that happiness will be in the next achievement or milestone or accomplishment or whatever we manage to get, which we think we need to get to be happy, but it's not in material items, right? The second thing is that we focus on what we don't have rather than focusing on what we do have. We fret over the past and obsess over the future, but we forget to enjoy the present. So those are some of the reasons as to why happiness is elusive. The second question we then asked was, what is happiness? I mean, how would you define happiness? And we said that if you look at what the scholars say, the scholars of Deen, together with what the psychologists and other experts say, it'll boil down to this, that happiness is the consistent mental and emotional state of well-being. It has more to do with your internal condition than your external circumstances. It's not a destination that you arrive at, it's a manner of traveling and a method of traveling. The fact that you go searching for happiness is what makes it elusive. You can't search for happiness. You have to exercise happiness as a choice. You have to choose to be happy. The third question which we unpacked is, what is the composition of happiness, right? What's it made up of? And we said 50% genetics, that you either genetically blessed. Some people are just more bubbly and happy-go-lucky, and other people less so, right? On the other hand, 10% of happiness is dependent on circumstances. What's happening around you? I mean, are you in a safe environment, unsafe environment, stable environment, unstable environment? That also is out of your control. So 60% is pretty much out of your control. 40% it relates to the actions that you do or you don't do, and that is pretty much in your control. So what is out of your control, you accept Allah's decree. And psychologists today tell us that when the choice is taken out of your hands, it's actually better for your happiness. And the other 40%, that's where you make an effort to do the best that you can do. We then came on to the fourth question, then, okay, that if happiness is a choice, right, like we had explained early on, how then do you choose to be happy? And the answer to that is to embrace the happiness portfolio, which comprises four things. The first is Iman and faith. The second is family. The third is community. And the fourth is the self. So we were busy talking about Iman, the first of those four. We said if Allah is happy with you, then you'll be happy. If Allah is not happy with you, you'll never be happy, even if everything else is going good for you, right? So that's the fundamental point that you can't escape. We also explained that our deen advocates ingredients that will make us happy. The one is optimism. We discussed the famous hadith, عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ. Amazing is the affair of a believer. Amazing is the affair of a believer, that everything that he does is good for him. If something good happens, he makes shukr. If something bad happens, he makes sabr. So it's a win-win. If you have that mindset, then you'll be optimistic. We spoke about Abdullah bin Abbas when he lost his eyesight. He said, well, at least my ears are still functioning, my mind is still functioning, my heart is still functioning. The second ingredient that Islam gives us to be happy in terms of this discussion on faith is an attitude of gratitude. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that you wake up in the morning, your body is functioning, you have food for the day, you're at peace, then it's like you've been given the entire world. Your property is secure, your food for the day is there, everything is good with your body. We have no right to feel deprived. And we spoke about the sailor who was at sea for 21 days lost, and he said, the lesson I learned is that if you have fresh water and good food for the day, then you have no right to complain. The third thing on which we concluded the last episode was that Islam teaches us how to compare. In matters of deen, you look at those who are doing more than you. If I'm performing salah, I must look at the man who's doing tahajjud. All right? So I always aspire to come closer to Allah. But in matters of dunya, always look at those lower than you. There'll always be somebody who has something you don't have. There's no one human who ever did or ever will have everything. So if you always look at those who have what you don't have, you'll never be happy. Look at those who don't have what you have. And we concluded by saying that Sheikh Sadi Rahmatullah Alayhi went to the masjid to complain to Allah about shoes, not having shoes. And then he saw a man crawling out who had no legs. And then he said, oh Allah, I have no right to complain. So on that path, right, the portfolio of happiness is made up of four things. The first is faith, and still under the aspect of faith. The next ingredient that Islam gives us to be happy is Islam advocates forgiveness. All right? that no matter what a person has done to you, forgive that person for your own sake. Right? One is Allah will reward you, but for your own happiness, because if somebody did wrong to you and you don't forgive them and you carry that baggage, what's going to happen? It's like walking with a thorn in your shoe. It will continue to prick you. It will continue to aggravate you. And that's one of the reasons that people are not happy. They just don't want to let go of the baggage. For years and years, they're carrying the baggage. Another aspect is have expectations in Allah alone. Have expectations in Allah alone. I can't emphasize this enough, honestly. I really can't. Especially when it comes to people closest to you. So often you would see that parents are depressed and they've deprived themselves of happiness. Why? Because they put all of their expectations in their children. I'm working hard, I'm slogging, I'm hustling, 2 jobs, home industry to educate my son. He'll graduate, he'll look after me, then he goes away with his wife, forgets about his parents. Naturally, it will hurt you as a mother, as a father, as a human. That's natural. You can't avoid that. But if you didn't have expectations in your kids or in anyone close to you, in any human being for that matter, your boss or your friend or your spouse, your expectation is only in Allah. It will hurt you, but it won't break you. It will hurt you, but it won't break you. When you have expectations in others, it'll break you. And you'll find it difficult to recover. So have expectations in Allah alone. Don't have expectations in anyone else. So to wrap up this part about faith, right? Islam is not here to make us unhappy. Sometimes we, as Muslims ourselves, we are the greatest culprits in that we misunderstand our deen. And as a result of misunderstanding our deen, we misrepresent our deen. We must understand our deen, and then we misrepresent our deen. We need to ensure that we understand Islam wants you to be happy, but in the right way. Islam doesn't say you must walk around with a big frown on your face like lemons have been on sale. No, happiness is a choice. Islam says choose to be happy. So that's the first, right, of the happiness portfolio that we discuss. What's the second? Family. The reservoir, the source of happiness is relationships. First and foremost, your relationship with Allah. And that talks to the point that you just concluded, faith. And secondly, the next most important relationship to you after your relationship with your Maker is your biological relationships. Your parents, your spouse, your children, your siblings. So, unfortunately, because of the rat race kind of life that we live these days, we've neglected our relationships. We neglect our relationship with Allah Ta'ala, and we neglect our relationship with those closest to us, right? And relationships require commitment. I often give this example that our homes have become like hotels. We live under the same roof, we eat at the same table, but we're living totally separate lives, totally disconnected. In a hotel, you're using the same entrance. You eat in the same dining hall. Your rooms are next to each other. But the person in room 101 is totally disconnected from the person in room 102, doesn't know him, doesn't care about him. So we have become emotionally disconnected. We're more connected to the device, even though we're sitting around a common dining table. Husband and wife are sitting right next to each other on the same bed. If the wife wants to make the husband laugh, she don't tell him the joke, she must WhatsApp him the joke. Right? So our homes have become like hotels. Emotional neglect is what's killing our relationships. Of course, abuse is on the rise. But in majority of instances, unhappiness is not because of that. It's because of good people making this mistake of emotionally neglecting each other. And then you deprive yourself of true happiness, which comes from relationships. You see, we spend so much of time investing for our families that we forget to invest in our families. As I said, sometimes it's a good intention. You're working hard because you want to give your kids what your parents were not able to give you, right? And then what happens? You lose that connectivity with them. You lose that connectivity with your spouse. One alim so beautifully says, the greatest gift you can give your children is a strong marriage. So don't neglect your marriage for the sake of the children. Keep your marriage strong. Invest in your family more than You invest for your families. People say, I'm so busy, man. Sometimes at the office, I feel the need to go to the bathroom. And then this call and that email and this and that. And then I look at the watch again. It's 1 hour that lapsed since I first felt the need to go to the bathroom. And then now the need became very urgent, so I go. But they say, you know what? Being in a relationship is a full-time job. Don't apply if you're not ready. Don't apply if you are not ready. So if you want to be happy, spend an extra 5 minutes with someone that you love. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. If you work 8 hours a day, you can't spend 8 hours a day with your wife and kids. You may be able to spend an hour, but it must be an hour of quality. And it will have greater benefit for you than 8 hours of doing something else. See, we sometimes become slaves of our jobs, of our careers and our professions, but there will come a time, whether you work for yourself or you work for a company, that somebody else will make a decision in the interest of the company or the profession. Right? Then you'll feel very, dejected. You'll feel betrayed. 30 years I was there, 40 years I was there, and then some young upstart came, and then they just gave me one dinner, one watch, and they set me into, they put me into retirement. By that time now you want to compensate and spend more time with your spouse. If your spouse is still alive at that time, or still healthy at that time, now you're disconnected. You want to spend time with your children, but they are in their own rat race. So you overcompensate now by then spending more time with your grandchildren and indulging them. So invest in your family more than you invest for your family. After the break, I want to share with you an anecdote to elaborate on this point. Welcome back. So before the break, we were speaking about family, right? The happiness portfolio, the ingredients. One was faith. We concluded that part. And then we started speaking about family, that we because of the rat race that we live, we tend to neglect our families. We're investing more for the family than we're investing in the family. And that our homes have become like hotels. And that, you need to spend an extra 5 minutes with someone that you love. The job will be a job. And in the end, the company will make a decision in the best interest of the company. Even if you're in religious work. Right? An imam will be an imam for 40 years. Then a younger scholar will come. He's got a more beautiful voice, a better tune. The imam's knees are not what they used to be, taking him long to come up from sajda. His voice has gone croaky. He's struggling in the early cold mornings of winter. And now they tell Imam Sahib, listen, we'll give you a package. We'll ease you into retirement. We'll do this, we'll do that. Now the imam feels betrayed. He feels upset. He feels amid so much of sacrifice. Listen. In the end, you ought to have found balance in your life. Whether you were doing religious work or whether you were in a profession or whether you're in a business, you ought to have found balance. There was a survey, a global survey done amongst men in their 50s. And they were asked this one question, that what is your biggest regret in life? What is your biggest regret in life? Can you guess how the majority of them responded? They said, we spend too much time focusing on our careers and too little time with our families. Too much time focusing on our careers and too little time with our family. I once went to a doctor and he said to me that one day he had a patient and it was a lady and it was late in the day and she told him, doctor, are you not going home? He said, yeah, I'm so busy and I'm going to see two more patients, then I'll go home. She said, listen, have a cut-off time and go home. She said, my husband worked very hard. He had this ambition of retiring at the age of 50. And then he said, we'll have enough time and enough money. And at the age of 49, he met up in an accident and passed away. The money is there, but he's not there. Right? How many people? No, we're working hard, we want to educate the kids, we want to pay off the house. And just as all of that gets done, the one spouse diagnosed with cancer and gone. Now, the remaining spouse remarries and enjoys the money with somebody else, and the kids are, like disgruntled. And my mother worked so hard. Now the other mother came and she's enjoying the fruits of my mother's labor. Well, such is life, and life is such. We ought to find that balance because later on will be too late. The greatest irony of our lives is that we treat the people we love the most the worst. At work, you're swearing your boss in the heart, but you're smiling at him because you need the paycheck. You're swearing the customer in your mind, but you're smiling because you need the deal. You're frustrated with the supplier, but you know, hey, I can't get it at this price anywhere else, so you bite your lip. Now you come home and you vent everything on your spouse, on your children, the people you love the most. There was one man who was very happy in his life, and people asked him, what's your secret? He said, you see, I got a tree outside my front door. When I come home, I pause for a moment, and I imagine mentally, I visualize that I'm taking all of my stress for the day and hanging it on the tree. I'm taking all of my stress for the day and hanging it on the tree. Subhanallah. Right? And then I come home and try and enjoy those bounties which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given me. Not that we reserve our best behavior for outside and our worst behavior for inside. So happiness is a choice. You've got to choose to be happy. The first is your relationship with Allah, and the second is your relationship with your family. The third is community, right? How does community fit in with happiness? Remember I said, faith, if Allah is happy with you, you'll be happy. Family, that becomes your anchor, your stabilizing factor in life. That's the source of happiness, relationships. Community, if you make others happy, you'll be happy. That's the system of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And people who've achieved everything, money, career, fame, but they don't do for others, they're not truly happy. They're not truly happy. Then you get those people who don't have much. Society doesn't really rank them, but they give a lot to the community. You see, generally speaking, they are happy. We may feel, hey, I don't have the skills, or I don't have the time, and I'm eking out a living. By the time I come home, I'm finished, man. I mean, weekends, I just want to sleep to recover for the next week ahead. Okay, but be generous in spirit then towards the community. Wear a smile on your face. They say when the facial muscles contract, it sends a rush of blood to the front part of your brain, which in turn then will release dopamine, which is a pleasure hormone. So when you smile at people regularly, you will be happier. 1400 years ago, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us this. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. That do not deem any good as insignificant, even though you can only meet your brother with a smiling face. Then do that. Today, researchers will tell us that to smile not will only make you happy, but it will spread the happiness because a smile is contagious. So, do something for the community. It doesn't have to be a mega project, or you don't have to start your own organization, or you don't have to be part of a massive fundraising campaign. Give somebody a lift. Help somebody who's in some difficulty or hardship. Run some old lady's errands for her because she's not capable. Give your expertise and opinion to somebody who requires it without charging. Right? So that's the third part, community. The fourth part, yourself. Yourself. You see, today we live in a very advanced age. It's the age of the machine, but we've become like machines, like robots. Daily routine. They call it the rut of routine. When they go into a factory in the morning, they flip the switch and the machine starts up and it goes and goes. The whole day does the same thing until at night they flip the switch, stops. Next morning, flip the same switch, starts again. Our lives have become like that. There's an anecdote that I share often. They say there was a man who secured a job as a woodcutter. So the first day he came to work, he chopped 5 trees. At the end of the day, the boss was very impressed, and the boss told him, see, nobody has chopped 5 trees in one day. I'm very impressed. Now, as he's walking home, he's dreaming big. He's thinking, hey, tomorrow I'll come earlier to work. Maybe I'll manage 6. And I'll impress him even more. And hey, if I carry on like this, he'll give me a promotion, and maybe he'll make me a partner in the business. And you sing all these big dreams. So the next day he comes early, and he's putting in even more effort. He's motivated now. The boss was impressed the previous day. At the end of the day, he only managed 4. Now he's thinking, I came early, I worked harder, but I managed 1 less. Why? Anyway, maybe it was a bit hot. Maybe, the heat slowed me down. So the next day he came even earlier. He went later. He only managed 3. The day after, he only managed 2. Then it came to the next day, he only managed 1. 1 the whole day. He was so embarrassed that he went to the boss to tender his resignation. So I don't know what's happening. I mean, I started off with 5 and I'm only managing 1 and I feel so embarrassed. But his boss was not a boss. He was a leader. He told him, see, I've been observing you, but I wanted you to learn a lesson. You're working very hard. You're coming earlier, you're going later. Why is it that the results are diminishing? Because you're making one small but fundamental mistake. He said, what's it? He said the first day you chopped 5 trees. Your axe became blunt. You forgot to sharpen your axe. The next day you chopped 4, it became even more blunt. The day after you chopped 3, it became even more blunt. So you're working harder, but your axe is blunt. So when we say look after yourself in order to be happy, you the axe. Look after your health, your physical health, your mental health, your psychological health. Look after yourself, refresh your mind, refresh your soul, organize yourself. Don't be cluttered. A healthy body is a healthy mind. Keep fit, walk. Don't become too sedentary. The best antidepressant, they say, is a 10-minute walk. It will immediately boost the endorphins and the happy hormones will be released in your body. So we need to do a time out from the monotony of our modern lifestyles. You need to start taking care of yourself. Connect with nature. Smell the roses, as they say. Enjoy your coffee. Take up a hobby. Look at water. Listen to the sound of water. Don't be in a technological environment all the time on this device. It's not how we've been created. It's not how life is meant to be. Don't all the time be doing this, doing that, this email, that phone call, this like that like that. No. You're going to find yourself in a very difficult situation as a result of that. Rather, have a balanced lifestyle. Time for exercise, time for leisure, time for what they call it me time. Me time. That's what they call it. So, in summary, we've answered all 4 questions that we started off with in the last episode. What is happiness? It's a consistent mental, emotional, and spiritual state of well-being. It's not out there, it's in here. It's not a destination you arrive at, it's a manner of traveling. Right? Why is it so elusive? Because our approach is incorrect. We're looking for happiness in the wrong places. We focus on only what we don't have. We live too much in the past and too much in the future instead of in the present. The third, what does happiness comprise of? It's a choice. You have to choose to be happy. Right? The fourth is, how can we choose to be happy? By embracing the happiness portfolio. Faith, family, community, and yourself. Faith, family, community, and yourself. In the end, I want to reiterate the most important point I've made in this discussion. من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن. That whoever does good deeds, male or female, فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. Allah says, I will give you a good life, a contented life. وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And I will give you a wholesome life and a happy life. So if Allah is happy with you, if you're obedient to Allah, then you will be happy in this world, at the time of death. Remember in our previous series, Allah will send you salam with the angel of death. And on the day of Qiyamah, when Allah will say, يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةُ, O contented soul, ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. That come to Allah in a condition where you are happy with Allah and Allah is happy with you. فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي. Now enjoy the company of the special servants of Allah. وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. And enjoy Jannah, inshallah. May Allah grant us true happiness in this world, true happiness in the qabr, and true happiness in Jannatul Firdaus. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.